What if the mask you idolize as a child becomes the muzzle of your maturity? A gleaming visor veiling not valor, but the visceral void of unfulfilled vows, compelling you to clash not just with foes forged from fantasy, but the fragile fictions of who you failed to become, echoing the shattered shields of gladiators in Colosseum's crimson sands, or the whispered woes of knights errant in Arthurian mists, where one heroic echo could herald hope or herald the heartbreak of heroes unrealized. Inhale the acrid alloy of adrenaline-laced air thick with the tang of twisted metal and monstrous musk. Taste the coppery cut of courage curdled on your tongue like a communion wafer from a corrupted chalice. Feel the phantom throb of a transformed fist clenching in your chest as if pounding against the plexiglass of posterity, while shadows of shocker slither like serpents from a storybook sprung to savage life. This is the heroic hemorrhage of Tojima Wants to be a Kamen Rider's Episode 5, Shocker's Assault, Shaka no Shigeki, which unmasked on November 1, 2025, delving deeper into the idol arc's introspective inferno, where middle-aged dreamer Tojima Tanzaburu's fixation on becoming a Kamen Rider collides with the cruel intrusion of tokusatsu terrors into Tokyo's mundane malaise, blurring boyhood dreams with brutal realities. It grips from the gauntlet's first gleam, a whirlwind of whimsy laced with woe that dangles the dawn of despair without delivering its dusk, teasing the threshold of transformation. Have you ever gripped a childhood talisman in adulthood's grip, knuckles whitening like a warrior's weary hold on a hilt, heart hammering against the helm of what-ifs, wondering if invoking idols invites inspiration or merely invites the invasion of illusions long interred? The episode embodies that evocation, its embers flickering just beyond the fray, suspense a subtle snare around your sentiments, curiosity the compulsive cadence of concealed crises, drawing you deeper into the den where one more morph might manifest not just might, but the mayhem you've mirrored in Midnight Musings, from Episode 4's Fervent Forging, where Tojima's fellowship fumbled through fanboy fervor amid the first flickers of Shocker's shadow, their amateur antics a fragile foil to the franchise's fearsome phantoms. This installment ignites like ignition in an ignition chamber gone awry, Tojima and his ragtag riders, Yuriko's unyielding zeal, Yukarasu's managerial mettle, the unnamed elder's earnest echo, rallying against a raid of reinforced ruffians whose superhuman surges evoke the unstoppable legions of Sparta's stand at Thermopylae, each blow a bridge between boyish bravado and brutal backlash. A riderman's revelation rends the rumble, his mid-melee monologue a momentary moratorium that mirrors the dramatic digressions of Homer's heroes halting for heraldry amid the havoc, unspooling sibling sagas and lore's lethal lure. Monstrous manipulations morph the melee into matrimony's madcap moment, the power of love piercing peril like a lance through lore's loom, transitioning not in triumph's trumpet, but a tautening toward the arc's apex of adversarial apocalypse. Cliffhangers chill a colossal creature cresting in full fury. You can almost hear the harmonious hum of henshin belts harmonizing with heartbeats, smell the scorched synthetics of suits straining against the surreal. Doesn't it gnaw at you, that nexus of nostalgia and nightmare, urging you to don the visor and venture forth before the battle's ballad bends to broken bonds? Episode 5 accelerates the narrative with the ferocity of a belt-buckled blitz, propelling Tojima's tokusatsu-tinged turmoil from fervent fantasy to fervent fray, where the Shocker squads. Surge unveils Mitsuba as Riderman, a revelation that ratchets the reverence from idle imitation to incarnate intervention, the monster's manipulative mayhem a twist that tantalizes the idol arc's escalation into existential enmity, faithful to manga chapter 8, Riderman's Resolve, wherein the sibling soliloquy sutures not just scars, but the series' satirical skewer of superfandom's self-sabotage, pacing Parley's precision, protracted in the proposal's poignant pause, akin to the suspended soliloquies before Agincourt's arrows arched in Henry V, explosive in the ensuing entanglement that escalates without exhaustion, dramatic equipoise exquisite equilibrium interweaving introspections itch with incursion's ire. Fans flag cloudy aspects, Riderman's rhetoric amid rampage, the power of love's precipitous pierce, or the monster's morphing mechanics, but manga chapters 7 to 9 demystifies. Mitsuba's mid-battle monologue mirrors Shibata's deliberate deference to Kamen Rider's episodic ethos, as unpacked in the manga's afterword on Tokusatsu Tempo, a thematic tether to Toei's trope of talkative takedowns. The Love's Leverage, per chapter 8's panel pyrotechnics, leverages lore's heart-henshin heuristic, negating neural nets via narrative necessity, not Deus Ex, but deliberate deconstruction of despair. The monster's malleability, drawn from Ishimori's input on Shocker schematics, echoed in Volume 2's appendices, enriches the anime with the manga's metamusings on monster motifs, beckoning back to the book's blueprint for the fanboy fracture that fractures fandom into fervent faith. Tojima doesn't merely morph, he molts, his psyche a palimpsest pricked by peril's poignant prickle, wounds from wistful worship fostering a fierce fidelity that's transformative in its tenacity, choices to charge the chaos consistent with his dreamer dogma yet surprising in self selfless synergy, motivations mutating from myopic mimicry to mosaic martyrdom, a mosaic of the man who mused on masks now manifesting as mentor amid the melee. Yukarisu, the managerial mainstay, deepens from comic conduit to cathartic core, his hidden hesitations, fueled by forgotten fancies, yielding to yearning's quake, the proposal a pivotal pivot that humanizes the humorist, dialogues dripping with dawning devotion that surprise with synaptic shatter. Mitsuba, Riderman's reluctant redeemer, blooms from backdrop to beacon, his sibling scars propelling a paternal plea that's equal parts prowess and penance, consistent with his concealed competence yet transformative in tender tenacity. Heroism here is the helmet's hollow hymn. Tojima's takedown a labyrinthine lesson in power's protean play. Does emulating idols elevate the everyman, or erode the essence? Manifesting in Yukarisu's love-laced liberation as a grotesque gospel of Getter's grace? Hope haunts the hazardous harbor of half-forged heroes, survival stratagem dueling sacrifices spectral snare in the melee's manic maw, evident in Mitsuba's mid-fight manifesto, a Camus-esque confrontation with the absurd evoking the Colosseum's cries in Gladiator's gladiatorial gospels, where despair's dragnet yields to love's latent light, much like dissidents' defiant declarations in Dunkirk's desperate dunes. Probing. In a world where worship warps the worshipper, can one henshin heal the heart or merely heighten the havoc? Shocker schematics and Riderman's relics layer the lore with luminous legacy, introducing lore accuracy edicts, cultural covenants capping cosplay's creed, per manga's Chapter 8 interludes on tokusatsu tenets that complicate the cosmos with conspiratorial cleavages, enriching the ether with ethical entanglements while Tokyo's tokusatsu-tainted terrain teases transnational treacheries, transmuting the tapestry from trope-trod terrain to textured tableau. Where idols inspire as insidiously as imperial icons, the script strikes with shuriken sharpness. Taut, torrid, its poetry in the profane paeans where lore accuracy lands like a loaded lance's lethal lunge, lines like Yukarisu's proposal carrying the cathartic cry of Romeo and Juliet's balcony ballad flipped to battleground, foreshadowing floods of fallout while reverberating in the endrol's embers like an elegy's exhale. Impactful, impervious to parody's pitfalls, even Tojima's trembled taunts arrive with tokusatsu tenacity, evoking the elliptical exhortations of Akira's apocalyptic asides, each exclamation a ember embedded. I harbored Mitsuba's manifesto murmurs, there yank a yoke on my yoke. Tell me, dreamer, when did a hero's halting vow last mirror the unspoken covenants in your own counsels, compelling you to rewind, to reclaim the resonance before it fades? Art direction deploys dusk's destructive dyes, scarlet spatter searing against Shocker's obsidian opulence, lighting lacerating limbs in lurid limelight that opposes the club's collapsing chiaroscuro, shadows surging like suppressed sympathies in stasis that shatters to skirmish's spasm, fluidity in Riderman's riffs a frenzy of fortitude forged in fire, beauty burns as bittersweet, symbolism searing sorrow's sacrament where crimson's cascade consecrates the cruel, Dutch dives into the duel's delirium heighten honor's hallucinatory haze, compositions cramming confessions in claustrophobic clutches akin to Kamen Rider's classic cuts, editing's escalation a euphoric eruption, lingering low angles lulling into lightning lashes that lash back with your own adrenaline, tension taut as tempered steel, your senses singed by the spectacle it singed me, this salvo, a searing seepage of solidarity and severance, fealty's fever flaring with the fervent phrase I fathomed in my own fractious fellowships, wonder whipped in the wired warmth like wildfire after winter's wane, moments maul indelibly, that cataclysm of camaraderie and catastrophe, a rupture where regimens rend the realm, realigning rivalries into requiems redemptive, raw as the reckoning in a Ronin's reign when rain washes not wounds, but the why of the wield. It invokes immutable interrogations, allegiance's alchemical ache, as in the last samurai's Bushido burdens, lingering like litanies. You palpate the pyre's proximity, do you not, the phantom flicker of a fallen comrade's flame on your flesh, the paroxysm of a pledge proffered? It's no nominal narrative, it's necromancy, notching with notions that nestle in your night's hush, necessitating the next frame until the fervor forges you afresh. By reverse reading, the episode's alacrity, monologues amid mayhem, love's leverage abrupt, might murmur as manic misfires, pacing's pyretic pulses perilously proximate to pandemonium's pandering. Yet reconceive, these are no narrative nubs, but deliberate detonations, rapidity rooted in the manga's relentless rhythm, chapters 8 speech surges, thematic torches twining tokusatsu trope with transitional tension, convolution a cauldron complicating catharsis. Tojima's tenacity occasionally outpaces the team's orbit, a judicious jab, it accelerates the arc's allure, eluding ennui, albeit ancillary arcs averting fuller fruition. action. Acclaim predominates. Amid action aisles awash in artifice, this blaze bedazzles, transfiguring trifles into transcendental talismans. Shockers assault, blazes in bold brilliance. Narrative nerve navigating the nebulous, aesthetics animating the arson, ephemeral embers eclipsed by a script that summons spirits. Infirmity's faint flickers in the firmament. It incarnates the Chronicle's creed. Not perfunctory punctures, but the pilgrimage through the pyres we populate, where dreamers eclipse despairs not in nullification, but in the humane heresy of honoring the haunt. I intuit infernos intensifying in idol's ides anon. Yet evoke this, evocateur, as the screen's sable scorches and that ultimate upsurge undulates unyielding. Will you quench the coral's query, or embrace the ember that's been etching your ethos since the enmity first inflamed? The blaze beckons. Your baptism begins with the breath.